And welcome to another episode of Keeping It Orange and Blue. I'm Ryan Evan, joined as always by my good friend Kevin Ducey. What's up?
What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm a lot better than I think we could be. When the programs you're rooting for are doing really well. Coming off a great football season and then having Illinois, on this little roll they're got now. And then you see what Shauna Green's got with her women's program, 17-5. Big win yesterday over Michigan State. We'll get into that. I'm doing good, man. So hopefully you're doing just as good.
Heck yeah, absolutely. It's exciting to we just jump right into the Wisconsin game, right? It's exciting to win a basketball game when your best player doesn't play well.
Here we go. Illinois hoops, one of 6 of 7.
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna jump into it. There was some kind of stat about what Illinois' record was when Terrence Shannon Jr. takes 6 or more free throws or something like that, and he didn't get to the line that many times against Wisconsin. Got in foul trouble early. Saw that rock fight of a game in the first half. But for a team to win that game fairly handily, handle a run in the second half by Wisconsin, and then go on their own run, stretch a lead out to 17 points with just a few minutes left to go, ends up being 10-point win instead of a 15-point win, whatever. Kind of the same thing with Ohio State, which will affect us in the computer rankings, but that's okay.
Back-to-back buzzer-beating three-pointers that kept Illinois' wins at 9 and 10.
I should have had 2 double-digit wins this week.
Yeah,
it was impressive. It was funny. As we were I was listening to a podcast. John Fanta and Rob Douster and Terrence Oglesby on. It's a national college basketball podcast, and they were talking about. And John Fanta is one of the guys I really like. I think he's really highly qualified at what he does. And they were talking about if you had to take a team in the Big Ten other than Purdue, and they basically broke it down to Indiana or Illinois, who would you think to go a long way? And Fanta's point was Illinois has just so many different ways that they can come at you and they can beat you. They got so many different guys who can put the ball in the bucket. We're now a top 20 defensive KenPom team. We're 18, one spot below Purdue. It is the offense that is keeping us down in the KenPom. We're 23rd overall, but they have so many different ways. Obviously, you see what Matt Meyer can do, and what Matt Meyer's done since the Texas game against Power 5 opponents, with the exception of Indiana being where he was sick. He's got double digits in all of those games. You had Coleman Hawkins, who's just really solid. Coleman, in the game before against Ohio State, he was really good. You had Danger making some plays in the first half, keeping us in the ball game, keeping us competitive. Jaden Epps making big shots. You've just got guys across the floor that can come up and make a play. And arguably, the best shooter on the team, if you talk to people who attend practice, who watch warm-ups, who watch shoot-around, who watch the team work out, is like 5 for his last 35 from 3 in RJ Melendez. So I'm not saying if that clicks, it's going to happen. That dude's going to start making some shots. And when that happens, this team becomes very dynamic. And on top of that, you bring a guy, hopefully like Luke Goody back. I'm bullish on what this team can do. They have some tough games coming up, some tough road tests against some really good Big Ten opponents. But I think they can match up and hang with just about anybody. I'm excited about what they're doing. 6 of 7.
They have a chance that they've got. Really, 4 of their last 5 home games are kind of cupcake-ish. So they have a chance to be, 8-5, when you go to Penn State, even 9-4 if they can pull off Iowa next weekend, which is very possible because Iowa does not play defense. So Illinois
and they can score.
Yeah, they can score, but in any given day, they're giving up 90. And I would pick Illinois to not give up 90. But anyway, so Illinois is, I would say, a real high, very, very likely they're going to be 8-5, if not 9-4, heading to Happy Valley. And when that game comes, Kev, you don't think this team will be fired up and ready to go? I mean,
absolutely.
They will be, and if you don't think they'll be closing out, I don't think Brad's going to play them the same way this time either. So no way in heck they do that. But back to my point on Wisconsin, what I think, I've tweeted about it a couple times. Matthew Meyer isn't a role player, but he's shown you, like not only is he dynamic with the ball, not only does he know how to use his body, his skill set against smaller defenders, he's crafty. He's going to block. He can block 2-3 shots a game if he needs to. He's a really good rebounder. But Matthew Meyer has shown you he can take you to a second weekend. I mean, he can. All it takes is him to hit the first 1 or 2 shots, and you saw what he did to Michigan State. You saw what he did to Texas. You just saw what he did to Wisconsin. If you don't think that's in that's in the chamber, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I love to see, is that even if you don't get that every game from him, I feel like he rises to the occasion when Illinois needs him to.
He's a matchup nightmare. He's 6'9". He can handle the ball. He can shoot from deep. He can score in the post. He rebounds. He's become a block shot menace. I mean, he's a matchup nightmare, and you already got one of those. I know people love to hate on the guy, and Coleman Hawkins. Terrence Shannon is a matchup problem. How many teams are going to in this conference are going to be able to throw long perimeter guys that are going to be able to handle what those guys do? And like I keep coming back to it, I think RJ Melendez, I think the breakout game is coming. Like and then like Luke Goody.
I will tell you too, though,
there's a lot of length and size on that are matchup nightmares.
I've been rough on RJ on Twitter shooting wise. Maybe it's me I'm trying to jinx him, I think, to jinx him to correct it. And I don't think me saying it necessarily does it. But if we keep saying every game we're tweeting like 0 for 6 from the deep, 0 for 6, to me that gets old. So I'm like, good shooters don't go 1 for 30 if they're a good shooter. I'm like, come on, baby, let's go. Just like me tweeting Brad Underwood's going to sit Terrence Shannon Jr. for the whole first half after he got 2 fouls.
And he didn't.
And he didn't. He played him. And I will say Terrence Shannon Jr. got a couple rough charge calls. I mean, there was one that was just atrocious. Like both of his feet were sliding. I think it was Klesmit. Yeah. Both his feet were moving. He wasn't even parallel to Shannon, and it was just like Brad's point is you're taking Terrence's game away from him. If he can't drive to the hoop, that anytime you touch him, anytime he touches a defender, you're going to just call a charge. So that really took his game away from him against Wisconsin. So if we can see that the Coleman Hawkins we saw against Wisconsin, I'd take 10 out of 10 games, Kevin. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't even matter if he's hitting threes because he's defending at a high level. He's blocking and altering shots at the rim. He's rebounding, and he was helping create for his teammates. I think he would love to have those free throws back at the end of the game. I know it was driving him.
He was mad at himself there.
So I take that Coleman Hawkins 10 out of 10 times. And also, Danja has shown that he can take over games, and he wasn't really needed per se in that. Excuse me. He was not needed in that second half against Wisconsin because the Matthew Meyer show came to town. So, but without him, is Illinois up 20-16 at halftime against Wisconsin in that first half? Highly doubtful. Nobody else was making anything. And Stephen Bardo, I don't agree with everything Stephen Bardo says, Kevin, but I agreed with one thing he said about Danja is that oftentimes he'll have it rolling and Illinois just forgets about him. And that does I think that if anyone from maybe a neutral, you sit back and just kind of look at it, he could make 3 or 4 in a row and Illinois just starts jacking up threes, And Robbie Hummel's made mention of it too, is that this team is so deadly and has so much talent, the most talented team in the Big Ten, many people feel, that he doesn't get their desire to just hoist up threes. Hummels talks about it all the time. It's like they just love to jack them up. They just got to get them up. But it's like you got Danger, who's just scored 6 in a row, and you just forget about him. So
yeah, and the challenge with that is if you look at the advanced analytics and the advanced stats, Illinois is a top 10 team in the nation, or top 15, I know, in both 2-point field goal efficiency, offense and defense. So Illinois' desire for a basketball game to win it would be for the other team to take a lot of twos and Illinois to take a lot of twos. You see what they did to Ohio State in forcing those tough jump shots. They absolutely destroyed Michigan State on that. It's the reason why they won that game. I mean, Michigan State didn't hit a single three in that game. That's just who that's the identity of this team, is when they take a lot of twos and when they force their opponents into a lot of twos, they're going to win ball games. And going back to Coleman, he's got 8 assists and 1 turnover in the last 2 games. He had no turnovers against Wisconsin. 5 points, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks, 2 assists. I mean, he's been that's what everybody. I think that's what everybody's really wanting from him, is like, we don't need superstar Coleman to be there every night. We just need the really solid producer on the team. And he's leading the team now in rebounds and assists. I think he's right there in blocks. Might be behind Meyer Danger, but he's right there. Team's going to set school record in blocks pretty soon. It's pretty cool.
I got to say, I don't recall a season where we've seen this many blocks from Illinois. Like, they seem to be just all over the glass, and which is a good thing, cleaning up some of those garbage buckets that we've been giving up a lot over the past. But one guy that and just to finish up on Hawkins.
Sorry, yeah.
It's all good, man. It's all good, dude. My point with Hawkins would be, I see all that, see the some of the vitriol from people at him. To me, it's that I would like to see a lot less of this, Kevin. We get this from him, and then it goes like this, then at one game.
Yeah.
I'd just like to see maybe something like this, kind of,
Yep.
And then
you just take the spike. You take the Wisconsin game at home where he hit 6 threes. You'll take.
Yeah, we'll just do this, and even if it goes like this, we're cool. But what we're used to and fans are getting sick of has been like that, and I get it. But it seems like he's trending in the right direction. But one guy I want to mention before we move on, Jaden Epps, man. Yes, you gotta love it, and he's really coming into his own, having taking the reins as the starting point guard and making big shots too. So there was that huge 3 he hit when Wisconsin made that big run and took the lead after we were up 12. And looked like they were trying to get back into it, tied at 37. I think Danger hits at 1 or 2 at the free throw line, and then Epps hits that sideline 3. And you could just feel like the momentum back in the sails before RJ put the poster on.
Those back-to-back possessions. It was huge. And if you watch that play, Epps does something that's so incredible there. And I think Mike Latula talked about it on Twitter, is Coleman drove, felt the collapse coming from Jaden Epps' guy, and passed to where Jaden was. And Jaden, caught the ball as he was moving, sliding to his left, because the defender is always going to go back to where you were, and which gave him an angle and a wide open look, and he just buried it. The other aspect from him is, he's one of the few guys on the team that shoots free throws well. He's 84% on the season. So he's just, he has been really solid. And if you look, I'm pulling up his game log right now. 1 turnover against Wisconsin, 2 against Ohio State, 0 against Indiana, 1 against Minnesota, 0 against Michigan State. I mean, that's and 1 against Nebraska. So he's not had a multiple turnover game back to back in a while. And he's playing big time minutes. And he's not the greatest assist point guard, but at the same time, he's still dishing some out. I think he's just a really solid, heady player. It's like they were, I was listening to some other podcasts people were talking about. It looks like if you didn't know Illinois and you saw this, you're like, who's that junior out there? Like, nah, man, it's a true freshman.
Yeah, he doesn't give off looks of frustration. He doesn't seem to be, he's got a wonderful poker face. Him and Matthew Meyer are really good at not showing emotion either way, really, other than maybe some excitement on like a big dunk or something. I think they were all happy and excited for RJ. But to your point, I mean, where can this team go when RJ's giving you 10 a game and hitting a couple threes, and Luke Goody's coming in solidifying? And by the way, Harris has taken his role and as being as a defender, he's struggled a little bit sometimes offensively, but I think he handles it well. He's coming in to play defense, give energy, rebound. And then Ty Rodgers, man, what about Ty Rodgers? I love of late he's been making those little 8 to 10 footers in the lane of late, which has been huge, you know. So I made a comment. I love the trends tweet thing or whatever. Is you know who the plus minus. I didn't really like that Ty Rodgers was like a -9 against Wisconsin. I'm thinking like because he missed free throws he wasn't that bad against Wisconsin.
Well, it's all. I mean, plus minuses in short spurts can be really misleading. He didn't play a ton of minutes, so if you're coming in there when they're hot, and he did, he actually replaced Sincere, who gave up a 3 to Chucky, and it pissed Brad off. And so Ty came in there and got some of. He had to guard Chucky, and Chucky started getting on a roll there. And it's not. I mean, there's just certain things about that. The other aspect about Rodgers is he does kind of clog some offense up. If you've got him and Sincere on the floor at the same time, which we did in the first half, or if you've got him and Danger in the floor, you just have two guys that really can't space the floor at all. But dude, he's going to bring his energy and his heart every game. I mean, 8 rebounds in 15 minutes against Ohio State in the game before, and he was just really impressive there. So it's just guys, you know, Sincere Harris can still do some really nice things for you. They just everybody's starting to fall into their roles, which is the problem that this team had in December, trying to find their roles. And that's okay, you know, and this is – I know we had it the year before and somewhat the year before, Kofi's sophomore year, Io's junior year, when we had the struggles early on in the season. We're trying to figure out what do you do with Curbelo? And then last year, what do you do with Curbelo? And it's Kofi's team now, and you're trying to find roles. And then once they settle in, they play. I mean, once Brad's got a team that settles in, he knows what he's doing. He's got that thing rolling. One of the things to notice about Epps, if you look at Evan Mayakawa, he does all these stats. Illinois' got 7 of the top 50 players in the Big Ten based on his rankings. Epps actually has a higher DPR than he does OPR, so defensive player rating.
Huh.
He's actually higher on defense than he is on offense, which is impressive, man. It's pretty. It's
he's definitely taking his lumps defensively. Sometimes he still gets beat back door, and so they'll try to play bully ball to him. But he has improved like night and day, I think, for sure. So I'm just waiting on the good news from Luke Goody. I expect he's got a checkup with the surgeon this week. So hopefully, fingers crossed that. He was playing 1-on-1 over the weekend with teammates.
1-on-1 and 2-on-2. Yeah.
Yeah. So
when that happens, we're good.
Yeah. So with that said, let's briefly chat about
one quick thing about RJ. Fans who are mad at him for shooting, watch. We are running specific plays, specific curls for RJ to get a shot. Brad is running plays. The coaching staff is running plays to get RJ looks from 3. And I thought, oh, my goodness, when he got the back-to-back corner threes against Wisconsin, he was certainly going to make the second one. He didn't. But the team has not lost confidence in him. So that is critical. So don't harp on him when you see him shooting, because we also had the same problem with Coleman when he passes up great looks and pump dribbles into a turnover, is that RJ's not doing that. RJ's taking the looks, and that's his role on this team. To be a shooter, he is still the best shooter in practice. So fans, take it easy on him there. He's there to shoot.
What I will say too, though, is that RJ was really, really good defensively against Wisconsin.
Incredible.
That's what I wanted to say, is that like he's not allowing his offensive struggles to dictate his vibe on the court, and he's not being a liability defensively. he was doing a heck of a job rebounding too. I remember several big shots from Wisconsin that like they were trying to gang rebound because they couldn't buy a bucket. And he came up with 2 or 3 big ones in that second half. But he was also playing great defense, which I love to see because he's going to stay on the floor if he's doing that.
He's playing 28 minutes a game the last 2 games, and he has a total of 5 points. There's a reason for it. Because he defends his tail off, dude. You don't play 30 minutes and score 3 points unless you're defending your butt off.
I don't know if you made this point or not, Kev. Sometimes I think I catch every word you say, but did we mention how many turnovers Jaden Epps has had ball handling over the last?
Yeah, it's something ridiculously low. He's only got 1 game of double-digit turnovers in the last 7. So
no, I mean, like I think he had 1 turnover in the last 60 minutes of game action.
Yeah, something like that
for a freshman he's like the main ball handler. So, people who were like, yeah, he's just a combo guard. Well, when you're playing 30 a game and you don't turn the ball over and you're handling the ball against, guys who've been in the league who've won Big Ten titles, like Chucky Hepburn, and you're taking good care of the ball, that's quality stuff. So,
well, the other thing is to know is that when you look at turnovers, that an offensive foul is a turnover. So sometimes it's not necessarily just an errant pass or live, and those are not live ball turnovers, which are much better for the team because it doesn't give the opponent an opportunity for a run out. So not all turnovers are created equal, and I know he has gotten a couple offensive fouls and aren't great, but he is very cautious with the ball. He does a great job with the ball. He doesn't give a lot of live ball turnovers.
I mean, he's you can't ask more from a freshman who's basically been thrust into the starting point guard role all of a sudden, especially when Sky Clark was, the man there. That was his role to start the season. So with that said, Kev, we're going to move to a very worthy topic. The Illini women beat Michigan State last night. I watched it end to end. I actually enjoy watching the women play. It wasn't like that forever, but I've enjoyed the team, especially when you got Makaira Cook, Genesis Bryant, Adelia McKenzie, and Kendall Bostic all on their game. They are super fun to watch. It's like they all can handle the ball. Like, okay, Bostic can handle it, but she doesn't need to because she's automatic from within 8 to 10 feet. If you give her the ball, she's going to make it. They were a perfect – I think it was 23 for 23 from the line last night.
23 or 24, yep.
20, okay, so – and then Makaira Cook and Genesis Bryant are like a bucket, man. Like Makaira Cook weaves her way in and out of traffic. She can be a one-woman fast break at times. And Genesis Bryant, if you leave her open, it's going in. So Michigan State actually played really well last night. Like every time Illinois, they could not get it past 12 or 14. And Michigan State actually cut it to 2 at one point in the second half. And Illinois responded by hitting a couple threes, a couple of big fast breaks, some steals. It looks like teams try to press Illinois, and that can give them fits at times. That's how Ohio State came back and beat them, was a press. So
it's how Northwestern gave them some fits in both games.
But, so over 5,000 people at State Farm Center, Kev. Shauna Green, to me, unless Illinois just tanks the last month, I don't know how she's not the national coach of the year. So,
I mean, I have no idea. Just frankly, I have no idea what's happening anywhere else in college basketball, women's college basketball, outside of Champaign and the teams that we play. So I can't comment on that.
I'll give you a hint. No other coach has a plus 10. I don't even think a plus 8.
Nancy Faye won 7 total Big Ten games
in 5 seasons.
Shauna Green's won 7 this season. So, I mean, that Big Ten Coach of the Year is a lock. They still got some tough games, they took a loss to Purdue last week, which knocked them out of the top 25, but then Purdue turned around and beat Ohio State. They've got
Purdue's a tourney team. It wasn't really a bad loss. It was a bad loss in the sense. Yeah, it was a bad loss in the sense of they didn't play well, but losing to Purdue wasn't a bad loss. So,
They've got a favorable schedule. They've got some tough matchups. The toughest matchup on the rest of the season is at number 8 Maryland. In the middle of February, they go to Michigan, who's a top 25 team on Thursday. But other than that, they're probably favored in every other game for the rest of the season. So it wouldn't be inconceivable to see them, win 6 of 8 this month, finish the season 13-7. Which would be pretty awesome. So I think it's
I think 13 and do they play 18 games or 20 in the women?
They might play 18 here. Illinois got 7 games left. Sorry. 7 games left, and they're 7-4. So
so it's 18. Yeah. I think Illinois has a really good chance to finish 12-6, a really good chance. But 11-7 is, I think pretty likely, if not a lock, because of how well they play. Yeah. Definitely at home. So I think they're going to steal one of those games at Michigan or at Maryland. Michigan definitely a lot easier than Maryland, but the way Illinois plays, I think Michigan could be susceptible to that because Illinois actually out rebounds their opponents plus 10, and they're an undersized group too. So that's
they're not big and they're not deep. That's the problem. It's impressive. Like you look at Genesis Bryant. I was getting in a little bit of argument with Doug Bouchon about this. He's wanted to put her up on a level of Mike Small already, and I'm like, whoa, hold your horses. Genesis Bryant was a transfer from NC State, but she got no tick last year. She's a junior, played 2 years there, didn't see the floor. And she's all big. She's probably second team All Big Ten, maybe first team All Big Ten. I think she's the best player. Makaira Cook's the leading scorer, but I think Bryant is the team's best player. It should be interesting.
Yeah, and one thing of note of everybody who may not be watching the women, they play Thursday on Big Ten Network. They're worth the watch.
It's fun.
At number 18, Michigan. They are actually a fun team to watch.
The way they play with a pace. They move the ball around. I've never been a fan of women's basketball, just to be honest. I watch it with my girls, but I'm a fan of anytime Illinois is good at something, I pay attention. When our volleyball team is good, I'm locked in. I'm super excited about what the golf team can bring this year. I'm excited when the baseball team's good or the softball team. I'll pay attention.
What about the wrestling team?
Yeah, that's probably where I draw the line, man. That's a boring sport to watch. I cheer for you guys. Isaiah Martinez, go.
Yeah, true. It's and I would say it's fun, but then they've got Adelia McKenzie's like a Rayvonte Rice. Rayvonte Rice 2.0.
It's the same number.
Yeah, like she's a bulldog. It's like she gets that ball, she's going to get to her spot. And if you're in a good position, she won't pull up and shoot it. But if you aren't, she will. And she's got a nice stroke from 15 to 17 feet. She hit 2 or 3 of them. But she's a warrior, a bulldog. She had a big rebound last night. But anyway, watch this team. They've got 2 really good transfers, Makaira Cook and Bryn Shoup-Hill, who's a sniper from deep, who followed Shauna Green from Dayton. Anyone isn't sure, she took Dayton to the second round of the NCAA tournament last year. So they won their first game.
And then they lost. They won the league too, yeah.
Yeah. So they were close to getting to a Sweet 16. And I'm going to be honest, Kev, I think this team has what could be a Sweet 16 type team. So
go follow him on Twitter. Go follow Genesis Bryant today.
Yeah. yeah. Sure.
So.
I'll take your word for it. So with that said, they play Thursday at Michigan Big Ten Network. Illinois tomorrow night, men's team, 6 p.m. Big Ten Network against Nebraska, who Fred Hoiberg's been using his son of late, Sam. Sam Hoiberg scored 14 at Maryland. He was like 4 for 4 from deep. They are. I will say this: I expect a blowout because Fred's playing guys he never did earlier in the year. He's playing 2 freshmen are starting, plus he's playing his son now. So,
well, Penn State did that. Penn State did that against Michigan, and some dude had 24 points. Dude, I never heard of before. Literally, did you see that?
Michigan couldn't. I mean, Penn State couldn't miss though. So, I mean, not surprising.
That is true.
You should watch that Ant Wright clip where he shows the 18-0 run that Penn State. I mean, it was just like a guy who was 0 for 2 from deep all year.
That's this guy.
Yeah, the white dude with the big headband, right?
Michael Henn
Yeah.
I mean, he's played like this all season, and he comes in and I mean, was just draining threes against Michigan.
Yeah, like I think there was one play that Hunter Dickinson collapsed all the way to the rim and left him wide open out there because he hadn't hit a shot all year.
Yeah.
And then he hit like back-to-back threes all net. It was just like, hey,
well, I was worried that Nebraska dude was going to have that moment against us for a minute when we played there. The Beacon Reichenberg and Durgan.
Oh my gosh, dude, that was like the dude looked like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in that game for a minute. I was like,
he looked like Will Ferrell from that basketball movie.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, so with the short shorts and the goggles, but
Sunny Moon or something.
I think Brad called their Tui. What the heck's his name? I forget his name. The shorts.
Tubisaga or whatever.
Yeah, Tui Saga. He called him elite.
He loves that word.
Yeah, I'm like, I mean, look, I guess you don't want to badmouth your opponent, but I mean, it's okay, I guess, to hype them up. Yeah, Tominaga. Yeah, I think he had like 6 points against Illinois and Lincoln last month.
So he's on Northwestern recently. So
yeah, he did. And then Northwestern put like 98 on him that game. But yeah, so again,
listen, they can't. This team they just can't do one of those stupid things where they fall into who they've been, and they won't. I think that's done. The Indiana game was a team that made a bunch of shots, a team that's coming up. I think Indiana's a good team right now. Indiana's a better team without Xavier Johnson. I'll say it right now. Hood-Schifino, the way he's playing and running that team, it's changed who they are. And then losing Race Thompson, and they've had to play guys like Renault and Geronimo that have stepped up and added some real athleticism at that 4 spot for them. It's made them
Geronimo is, Kev, as crazy as it sounds, as good as Trace Jackson Davis was that game, Jordan Geronimo was really the difference. I mean,
he made a huge difference in that game.
And he's actually he re-aggravated his injury, so he's out now.
Yes,
but I didn't know
stepped up and had a great game. Over the weekend against Ohio State, which I don't know what that means, but
so
they're a good team. They're a good team. Everybody talks about Illinois as the most talented team in the conference. Not the most talented. It's Indiana's second, and that's not a slight against Purdue. Purdue just has the ogre of ogres who can't be stopped, and it opens up everything for everybody else. But no, I think the end of the team playing like they were playing was that Penn State loss. I think that they've righted the ship since then, even though the Indiana game didn't look like it. But I think Indiana we didn't have the right game plan for them, and they got hot, and we couldn't slow them down. I think you'll see something different when we go to Bloomington, but it's going to be a very tough game. I wouldn't project that as a win.
Yeah.
All that to be said is I think that Nebraska is going to come out a little bit game tomorrow night, but I do see us putting away and winning that game by double digits. And then the next game, obviously, in Carver Hawkeye Arena on Saturday afternoon.
That's going to be a big one.
Be a big one. And that one will be one where
if Illinois can win that can
we got the horses to beat them.
We do. There's only a couple games that I don't really have Illinois I think they are really going to win. That I wouldn't pick them. It's at Indiana and at Purdue. So for very obvious reasons, it's if Illinois can't guard Trace Jackson Davis, what are they going to do to Zach Edey? You have to double him. You're going to have to double him. So
or you go 5 out.
Yeah, you know what? Why not play? I like to see zone once. Play zone. You know what I mean? It's what's it going to do? I think
what they're going to do against Purdue is the same thing. Hopefully, the same thing Maryland did, and you're going to press their guards, and you're going to see a lot of Sincere Harris, and you're going to speed them up, and you're going to force them into some turnovers. And if you can do that, you can win that game. And you do things on Edey where you do digs at him, and you just try and speed him up a little bit. But when you get rebounds, you go. And on offense, you try and get him out of the paint. If you get him out of the paint, they are not the same team. His defensive metrics aren't that high, but he is the most impactful defensive player in the conference. He covers up so much ground. But, we can talk about that when it gets to that.
Yeah, for sure.
We got some other news we need to share. It's out there. So, Ryan, I'll kick this back to you a little bit here.
Yep. Well, anywho, we appreciate y'all tuning in and listening to this. I mean, that's why you're watching, because we're all Illini diehards and we care. So, Illinois finished up their coaching staff additions, Kevin, and I mean, I couldn't be more thrilled, to be personally. I mean, I always loved Thaddeus Ward. When
Can I do it? Can I do
yeah,
it?
all right, go ahead, hit him.
Liddyville, baby! The author of Liddyville, Thad Ward, is back.
It's always Liddy in the city when you got the king of Liddyville, Thad Ward.
So you can break your hats, you can break your shirts back out. I think I still have his shirt.
I know, man. I want to say, are we still keeping is Liddyville still a thing, Thad? So it's now family, so he's using hashtag family, but it can still be Liddyville, really, you know. He was definitely Lovie Smith's best recruiter.
Yep.
He got some big time kids to come. There may be one or two kids still on the team that he actually recruited. I know Shimon Cooper was one you mentioned to me earlier. I know Isaiah William knows him well.
Absolutely.
Isaiah knows him well. He came to help recruit them. That was even before Corey Patterson was on staff. So,
he might have been his recruiter. I'm trying to remember. Those guys came in together, correct? I mean, like,
yeah, they did.
I think he was a recruiter, and then they hired CPAT after that.
They did. They hired CPAT a year or two after. I think it was CPAT was on the staff 1 year with Thad before Thad left to go to Temple. Was it with Rod Carey, I believe? So,
listen, it's an upgrade in my opinion. I mean, no look on Corey Patterson. He did a good job with the team. He did a good job coaching the backs. Thad Ward is more experienced. I think he's a more versatile recruiter. Corey Patterson outside of St. Louis really wasn't giving us much. And then Thad just had it was Thad and Corey that kind of had that swag in the coaching staff, and that, you know, we lost a little bit of that, but, you know, we get a little bit back with Fanilis, and then we get some with Thad, and that stuff matters, man. That dude has a way to connect with players, and I'm very excited to have him back. It was a big hire. He was at Kansas State last year. It was a really good football team.
I mean, come on now. He was the wide receivers coach at Kansas State. You don't think he learned even more under, you know, Klayman and you know, and that's a successful program. They won 10 games and made the Sugar Bowl. They beat TCU. I think Thad Ward's trajectory as a coach has always went upward. I think he left Illinois not to get the same thing, but he knew his role was going to expand at Temple.
Yeah.
And when things didn't work out successful-wise, winning-wise, and that's not on him. I mean, the head coach is obviously going to be responsible for that. But when that happened, you know, he wasn't worried about finding a job, you know, because what he did and what he brings to your team is important. So he knows what he's doing. He's been doing it for a long time. He was at Western Michigan, Northern Illinois, Temple, Illinois, Kansas State, now back to Illinois. And he's a hell of a recruiter. He's a hell of a guy. I would agree it's an upgrade over Corey Patterson. So, and that's not me just wanting to say that because there's bitterness. There's no bitterness to Corey, even though I still follow him on Twitter and I have to see all this Purdue crap that he posts. With Ryan Walters. And I'm like, bro, you were just talking about Illinois for 4 years. Now you're talking about Boiler Up. It's like it just doesn't mesh. So, but Illinois not only hired Thad Ward, they also hired from the NFL ranks Charlie Bullen, who was a coach there for the Arizona Cardinals. He was a coach of Chandler Jones. He spent time obviously with J.J. Watt. You know, he was close to those guys. And he's been in the NFL for nearly a decade, if not more. He played at Iowa. So, again, an Iowa guy like Brett Bielema. And so I think, technically speaking, I think it's at least trending here with Kevin Kane. You know, I don't think you're losing anything with Charles Bullen that, you know, with Kevin Kane leaving, obviously it's a big deal. But with his experience in the professional ranks, you can't take that, you know, with a grain of salt, I think.
So hold on. The guy in his NFL career, he coached guys like Cameron Wake and Olivier Vernon when he was in Miami. In his 2 years there, in his 3 seasons there, those guys were 10th and 12th in the NFL, respectively, in sacks. Hassan Reddick, who everybody knows his name now because he's wrecking havoc in the NFL playoffs and is going to be a problem for the Chiefs Sunday after next, was under his tutelage in Arizona. Chandler Jones in Arizona, Kiko Alonso in Miami. Like, he has produced. Now, granted, those guys have a ton of talent. I am not knocking that. But if you look at what Hassan Reddick came into the league, he was not, what was he? I know he's a first-round draft pick, but his first couple years in the league, he didn't do much. He had 2.5 sacks as a rookie, 4 the next year, 1 the next year, and then all of a sudden 12.5. And then finally, Carolina snaps him up on a free agent deal or a trade or something, and then now he's, NFL Defensive Player of the Year candidate. And, Chandler Jones is an NFL Defensive Player of the Year runner-up under this guy. This dude has developed guys in the National Football League, and he is coming into a situation where he's got some really talented edge rushers in Coleman, Akis, Holmes, Bryant, and then you've got some. I'm bullish on Bullen. I think this is a great couple hires. I think the coaching staff. It's tough for me to say they got better. Ryan Walters is so good and did such a nice job here, but Aaron's my boy and I believe in him. But man, I definitely don't think we regressed at all from a coaching staff on that side of the ball, and I'm super excited what this team's going to have to come back with next year. Our front seven's going to be as good as anybody. Man, it's
a front seven having a guy like Charles Bullen coaching them, who's, I think he's learned from great guys, even Vance Joseph. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes. He learned under Vance.
One of the best defensive coordinators in the National Football League for a decade.
Yeah, and so it's definitely, to me, that's definitely no regression. I think they added. Technically speaking, they upgraded running back coach-wise. I think they've at least been on par with their outside linebacker hire, and I think it's to be determined with Aaron Henry right now. But
sure.
There's going to be no drop-off with player trust, with guys wanting to give him his all, and I don't think schematically either there's going to be tons of difference with Aaron Henry. So.
And the guy's got NFL chops. He doesn't have to be a world beater in recruiting. We've hired guys to handle the recruiting. I guarantee you can still recruit. Andy Boo can recruit a little bit. But his title is pass rush specialist on top of outside linebackers coach. I am very excited about the pressure that this team is going to put on opposing quarterbacks when you have a front three like we have, and specifically Newton and Randolph. And then you got guys coming off the edge. Like, this is going to be a team to be messed with. And when I see Big Ten media guys on Twitter asking who's going to win the West next year and put up a picture of 4 different teams, and Illinois ain't one, watch out.
Illinois better be one of them, no doubt. I would say too. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think you can put Wisconsin over Illinois. There's going to be way too many new pieces, in my opinion. And it's not just the quarterback situation. And obviously, Illinois is going to have a new quarterback. Wisconsin's going to have a new quarterback. They have a new coach. But also, Wisconsin's losing so much defensively. And they weren't even that good defensively, to be honest with you. So you're going to be bringing in so many new pieces with new coaches. How can you sit here and say, I think they're the favorite? No way you can say Northwestern. No way. You're having a young quarterback who's still going to be his first season starting for Minnesota. There is no more. They're losing Ibrahim. And defensively, they lost a ton of seniors. That defense had a lot of –
Tyler Newman, love that dude. He kept Chase Brown from having about 250.
And all their starting linebackers were seniors. So I don't think –
who's going to be drafted very high,
I just don't think you can just say, well, Illinois has a majority of their defense back. We're going to put all these other teams with new starters, new faces, and then let's go to, I think, Iowa. I think,
Iowa and Illinois, in my opinion, they lose a lot off the defensive side. I do think their offensive additions will help.
Yeah, their offensive additions will help. But let's see, there is no guarantee Caden McNamara is just going to come in and be the man and be the guy he was at Michigan 2 years ago. So, again, I think Illinois and Iowa probably, but they're better. I think Illinois, Iowa, and Minnesota, and I think Illinois is going to be probably picked more than most, in my opinion. But we'll see how that works. Obviously, losing Chase Brown matters. But really quick, before I get to – we're going to finish up with some recruiting stuff. Tommy DeVito is showing out at the Shrine Bowl. Have you seen these updates? Of all the six –
was throwing some tutties today in practice. And
of all the 6 quarterbacks, several media who are at the game are saying that in practice he sticks out as the best quarterback there at the Shrine Bowl. And I can tell you that's not surprising to us because dude is super accurate. He's composed. And so I wish him nothing but the best. I hope a really good Shrine Bowl will help his professional possibilities.
Absolutely. And that would be one of the things that Illinois can look at. Bielema's got the offensive lineman that you're going to put in the pros. We're going to have Witherspoon, who, unless he runs a slow 40, is going to be a first-round draft pick. You've got Sidney Brown, who people are starting to recognize the highest-graded safety, according to Pro Football Focus, in the college ranks in man coverage.
Mel Kiper said he's going to be a third-round draft pick, Sidney Brown.
Yeah, we've got the DB side covered. We've got the O-lines covered. Chase will get drafted. That's a big deal when you start putting guys in the pros. You put a quarterback in the pros that came to your program it wasn't on anybody's radar, like that would be huge.
Definitely. And I think Illinois got – and it sounds like Jartavius Martin's a 4th, 5th-round pick, it sounds like. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm actually going to really enjoy the draft.
Calvin Avery's wrecking shop at one of those Senior Bowls too.
Yeah, NFLPA Bowl out there in Pasadena.
He's unblockable.
Unblockable. And I was tagging Jim Nagy, who runs the Reese's Senior Bowl, trying to get him to give him a shot down there in Mobile. But I think it was just kind of maybe too late, a little bit too late. But so now let's move really quickly to hoops recruiting. So Illinois is, obviously added Nicola Moretti to the class of 2023. He's there on campus now, so it's fun. I've talked to him a couple times, and, he's just going to be living with Adam Fletcher,
Yeah.
Just drinking protein shakes, just drinking, egg yolk, and lifting a bunch of weights just all day long, every day. So he's going to be living with Adam Fletcher. But that means, now let's look to the 2024 class. So Illinois has recently offered Christian Nitu, who, by the way, I love that. I love his game. It's
me too,
man. It's like he's got Chet Holmgren vibe to him, and it's like not saying he's Chet Holmgren. I'm just saying a guy 6'10" and a half with a 7'3" wingspan who's crossing guys over and hitting step back threes and taking guys to the rim and finishing like a guard. To me, that's something I would like on the team, but not every. I've had a Illini fan saying Nick Smith 2.0. I just couldn't help but laugh because
anything he looks like Coleman Hawkins, man.
Yeah,
you watch the high school tape. He reminds me of. He's got a better stroke than Coleman, but he reminds me a lot of Coleman to the point. Do you remember when Coleman got a dunk on that kid and did the nana boo boo?
Yeah.
I was halfway expecting this kid to do it because he's dunking on people and he's mean mugging them and he's flexing on people. This
dude is better than Coleman when Coleman was 16. Okay.
Yeah.
This guy's 16 years old. So it's like people saying all these comments like he's 16 right now. Coleman's 20, about to be 21 if he's not 21. I watched Coleman at the Chambana Classic in Champaign when they came with Namari Burnett and Jalen Green. I was there watching them, which was fun, by the way. But Coleman was struggling, to hit his shots that game, and obviously was rebounding and blocking shots, but he wasn't hitting shots.
Right.
This guy seems to have a silky smooth stroke, super confident. I like this. It sounds like Creighton and TCU are hard on him too, so it's not going to be easy. But Illinois has had a Jeff Alexander does a great job with these foreign kids who are, Canadian or Italian, French. He has this connection with, out of state United States kids. So even though Canada is not that far away, but still technically would not be a kid who's going to be in the top 100 ranking.
Is RJ from Puerto Rico?
Yeah, RJ's from Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Well, played high school ball in Florida. Yeah, that'll be interesting because like you talk about Creighton and TCU and you recruit this, and I think he's from outside Toronto if I'm correct. And you got Omaha and Dallas are both bigger metros than Champaign-Urbana, so there's going to be some things you could throw off there. But it cannot hurt to have some international guys like Moretti and Perrin and RJ. It'll be interesting. I really like this kid's game, man. I love what he's got to bring. And if you saw some of the highlights that GGL had over the weekend, Amani Hansberry is shooting up people's charts. I'm very pleased with what this team's doing from a recruiting standpoint. But, it's all going to – the portal's going to be a big part of it. We'll see what happens with, somebody's going to leave. It just is what it is, man.
And it sounds like, Coleman Hawkins is borderline a first-round pick in some of these serious ones. He's early 30s,
Biggest Coleman Hawkins fan not named Rod is like this guy. Like, I'm a Coleman defender. I don't quite see it yet. I think you just got to get a little bit more consistent with your jump shot. So that's just
no, for sure. And I hope that they don't listen to that. And I hope that really hasn't been an issue. To me, to really gel and to really have your star shine, you can't be focusing on. If I keep playing like this, I'm going to keep rising. And that's going to make your game tank, in my opinion, because you're going to be pressuring yourself. You just got to let it come. Easier said than done, because we've really been there. We know.
Oh, yeah. All our days at Urbana and Decatur.
Yeah, super pressure packed free throws. Let me tell you.
Yeah, when they were coming to watch Mo Dampier, they were really coming to watch you. That's what it was.
Yeah, 100%. They were wanting me to give him his find him a towel or something. But here we go to finish the show. So football recruiting, there's still couple days left, maybe some surprises. Jamel Howard, I heard that, the SEC NIL may be too luring for him. Illinois had a bunch of other kids on campus last week. And having guys like Antoine Hayden hosting can't be a bad thing. So JoJo Hayden. But I really like where this class has went.
Very excited.
They're already just nailing the 2024 offensive line class already. They're just boom, 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 pounding it, having them coming in. And it seems to be Miller and Bielema got something rolling with that O-line, so I'm excited about that.
And another word to the wise, the caution stuff with the Illinois fandom. Jamel Howard, kid from Chicago Marist, committed to Wisconsin, high 3-star, borderline 4-star kid. Is like you said, getting wooed by the NIL stuff for SEC.
Yep.
Those of us who are smart enough and old enough to understand, like you've seen it a dozen times. Like guys that go there I don't understand why he's a good player. But why would there be an NIL deal for him? I don't quite get it. But if you're Auburn and you go steal Jamel Howard from Chicago Marist with the promise of an NIL deal, and it falls through and he leaves, he transfers after a year because it doesn't work out for him, they really don't care. It's irrelevant to them. Like they're not like Chicago Marist isn't a pipeline school. It's not a feeder school. Yep. Illinois cannot go in there and make false promises to a kid and not deliver because it will ruin our abilities to draw kids from there in the future. So there's a level that if he does go there, understand that we're kind of fighting with one hand tied behind our back and something like this is. And so it's just a heads up there. I think Jamel likes Illinois. When I was 18, I'd like money more.
Yeah, true. And but the only thing you need to do and you got to be aware of, and I'm sure his parents and everybody are talking about it, but several kids, like the quarterback from Florida was promised like $13 million, Yeah. Never saw a dime, and let's just be honest, that's going to happen a lot. So to me, what would be common sense-wise would say your star ranking, and I actually was talking to a couple players about this, your star ranking matters because it's affecting NIL money now, Kev. So we were talking about, why does it matter for Antoine Hayden to get that 4-star? Why did it mean so much? Because that bumped his dollars up. You know, if you're a 4-star kid, that's more sexy, that's more attractive than a 3-star linebacker. So you come to Illinois, you're already a 4-star kid. Your numbers are a lot higher inside the top 500 or whatever. You're sexier to give your dollars to. Right. And so we were talking, and him and another one, about, not in anyone in particular, but I think some 3-star kids that are going thinking they're getting big dollars from other schools is not happening, especially when you got 5-star and 4-star kids loaded on those rosters. So that to me would say, hey, maybe I need to take a step back and think about how real is this offer. But, it is what it is. And if a kid wants to go play in the SEC, go for it. All more power to you. But I think what Illinois is building here is special. So
yeah, it's interesting when you talk about the stars too, and how guys come in. And I'm thinking about like a Matt Bailey, who wasn't highly recruited. You could compare him to, somebody who might have been higher recruited coming in the last year's class. I mean, I think Sean Miller's going to be fantastic, but like Sean Miller was a higher ranked recruit. Well, who made it more of a difference on this year's football team? Obviously, Sean got hurt, and I'm still very high on the kid. But it's interesting in football. It's like that's kind of like, if you look at basketball, I mean, who was the prize recruit? Sky Clark. Well, I mean, Jaden Epps has turned out to be a lot better deal for Illinois. Clark has been. It's a weird thing, but the reason why Sky Clark was immediately getting NIL deals is because at one point in time he was a 5-star.
Yep, and so that. And I think at least for now, that's how it's going to be, is because it's like in the NBA, right? Your value is even if a kid, like let's say Buddy Hield, right? Buddy Hield was one of the best players in college basketball. Why was he picked 24th that year? Why were all these kids who didn't do anything in college, why were they picked 23 of them ahead of him? There were some high school kids that didn't do a darn thing in college. Oh, but because we're projecting you to be. So we're projecting you are going to be great because you were the number 1 kid in the class. So your dollars are here. Even if Buddy Hield technically can help produce now, that doesn't matter. So Sky Clark is expected to produce as a 5-star because technically speaking, that's what 5-stars are supposed to do. But that's just how it is now. And, Kev, I only brought that up because I didn't think about it until, I was told that. Like, hey, my dollars went up when I became a 4-star. I'm like, interesting. So, with that said, Kev, things are going well in all aspects of Illini athletics, so we're happy about that. We're going to end with final thoughts. Anything you want to talk about? I like to end it like this. Whatever you want to say, Kev. Anything you want to talk about? Final thoughts.
I am of the full belief that the Illinois basketball team that you have seen that has won 6 of 7 the last ball games, that is who this team is. The team that got drubbed by Penn State and Missouri is not who that's the aberration. This is the real deal. This team is really starting to gel. They've got a bunch of chemistry. I know there's some people that still have Illinois battered fan syndrome, and they're worried about it. But I think this is the best. I wouldn't say it's the best. This team has a better chance of making the second weekend than last year's team did. I think the team 2 years ago obviously was the best chance, and actually the team 3 years ago was in a really nice role. Probably would have been a 6th seed, which is a great opportunity to get to the Sweet 16. This team is in a really good spot, and I expect them to finish the season strong, be a top 4 seed in the Big Ten, get that double bye, and make it the second weekend for the first time in Brad Underwood's career. So
yeah, I think this could be a universal final thought. We'll get into that more closer to March, but so Illinois with a win tomorrow and an Iowa victory over Northwestern will put Illinois alone in second place in the Big Ten. 7-4, and who'd have thunk that after the start of the season of 0-3 to begin the Big Ten? The schedule sets up well for Illinois. So I think Illinois has the third weakest Big Ten schedule, so it sets up well for them.
Yeah.
Some tough games left, but my final thought for tonight: Illinois is going to win both games this week. They're going to go to Iowa City. I think they're going to be the tougher team. They're going to want it more. Iowa's probably going to be coming off 2 straight wins at home, having 3 games in 6 days in Iowa City for them. A tough win over Rutgers, probably a tough win over Northwestern. I think Illinois is going to be ready to make this big push to, not win the Big Ten per se this year, but as you said, be a top 4 seed in the Big Ten tournament and a top 4 seed overall inside the top 16. Amazing to think about that because a few weeks ago you were hoping to be maybe a 10 or 11 seed, but looks like Joey Brackets has Illinois as the second fit 5 seed. So that means they're 18 right now total. And Net really likes Illinois. So I think they're a top 25 or top 26 team in the Net. So good things going. I got Illinois going 2-0 this week. That's the Swami thought of the week.
One quick, we don't do fade the deuce on the basketball season because it's so much harder. We don't know what lines are coming out, but the fade the deuce pick, Maryland -3 tomorrow against Indiana. Take it to the bank. Maryland's Indiana's on a roll. They've got Purdue coming up this weekend in Assembly Hall. They're going to overlook a Maryland team that is starting to put it back together. Maryland wins that ball game.
And that game's in
College
Park. Okay, I can roll with that too. So I like that pick. All right. Well, you heard it here first or last, either way. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Thanks for watching on Twitter. Thanks for following us. And have a great rest of your Monday night. So Tuesday, 6 p.m., Swami out.
ILL.
I-N-I.